Why am I migrating here? Why am I in America? The Prophet ﷺ's companions left Mecca to go to a land that had no Muslims. We are in this country purely for the sake of Allah. The moment you make this intention, you will look at things different. People will meet you different. How could it be that your co-workers know you as a Muslim for 10 years, not once you presented Islam to them? You don't know why your purpose is here. All you guys together, we are in this country for Allah.
As we're here living in the US, what is our role now? What is the way forward? Let me just quote for you an ayah of the Quran, and I'm going to try to encapsulate it. Allah is saying, do not obey the disbelievers. Don't yield to them. And then He gives us the process of what to do next. وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا. And so make jihad against them.
What is your duty as a member of the Ummah now that you are also an American? It is our physical jihad duty to fight the entire earth until we enter it into the Ummah.
Talking about establishing Islam, and I think that's our jihad, to be honest. For us Muslims living in the West, yes, our jihad is to establish the deen of Allah through all means necessary.
And in that long-range process of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live. This is the Morning Loop. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that one, how you started up. But yeah, we do have a problem here in the United States. A problem with a particular religion. I mean, it's not just an American problem. It's a Western problem. You know, there is Islam, the religion of peace, is not exactly what it says it is. I mean, it's anything but. I mean, I think Christopher Hitchens said it the best. You know, it's like, yes, Islam is a religion of peace, as in there's a piece of you over there, there's a piece of you over there, there's a piece of you over there. Islam is scary, and rightfully so. And again, it's one of the few religions that you are allowed to... Look, when Islam is in power, it subjugates, subjects, and persecutes people who are not Muslim. And if it's not in power, it's allowed... as a Muslim, you're allowed to lie, cheat, steal, and kill in order to justify it. Again, it's the religion that promises those who die on God's behalf will live in the land of milk and honey with throbbing erections for the rest of your life. I mean, it never mentions what women get. And it's like, I'm sure as a woman who marries a husband who dies for the prophet, or, I mean, again, and the prophet's ranked higher than Allah for whatever reason. But, you know, it's like, so your husband gets 72 virgins, and you're just what? There. He's like, I'm going to go get this one tonight. I'm going to go have that one tonight in paradise. It's the only religion that offers sexual favors in the afterlife. You know, it's like, this is why Christianity is the way, because Jesus doesn't offer you that. It's like he says, give up your life for me so that you can spend eternity with me. That's it. So, I mean, it's very odd. It's a very odd religion. It's a very, you know, it's not hard to see that it's an evil religion as well.
Yeah. And it actively is trying to come in and reclaim or convert everybody into what it is. And this is the other problem, is like, for all those atheist liberals out there, they're like, all cultures are equal. Well, if Christians go out and try to evangelize,
we're viewed as bad people.
Exactly. We're seen as terrible. Like, keep it to yourself,
I mean,
man.
Again, we don't ever talk about Islam in that way whenever they go up and suicide vest someplace. We just go, oh, well, that's just a fringe minority. It's like, no, it's not. This is what they believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's the duty of every Muslim to commit jihad against the West.
It goes, we will not rest until every tree and every rock cries out, come over here. If there is a Jew or Christian behind me, come kill me. That is what they want. That is the end goal of Islam. It's a very, very scary, scary religion. And, you know, it promises worldly pleasures to people in the afterlife. It's very odd.
Yeah.
You know, and again, remember, God, this world is not our home. God doesn't offer you the. I mean, my favorite line in that movie, Nefarious. You remember? It's like he goes, "You are no carpenter." You know, it's like going when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness. He goes, Satan tempted him. He goes, "I will give you all the heavens and the earth. Everything on the earth is yours to have." And then, you know, the atheist guy was like, "Yeah, but Jesus said no." He goes, "Yeah, but you're no carpenter." And Christ also never said that those things were not my master's to give. So again, you will be tempted here on earth. You'll be tempted with all the things. And again, it's wild. The Islam, it's crazy. And, you know, there's a lot of, and again, too, think about it this way. Christianity, Christ wants your love freely. Like, again, it's like if you marry somebody, it's like if they don't give you their love freely, it's not real love. It's not real love if they don't give it to you willingly. That's what Christ wants from you, that he wants you to willingly give you his love. He wants to willingly sacrifice the pleasures of the world to follow him. And he wants you to willingly do that. Again, and if you willingly choose not to, he will be sad, and he will, you know, the heavens will cry out and be thing, and that, you know, the hell will celebrate when you turn away. But no Christians are going to come out, hunt you down, and kill you. I mean, remember, Islam is like, if you reject the faith in Islam, you are what is the word? You are an apostate.
Apostate, yeah.
You're an
Apostates
apostate.
are allowed to be killed
Yeah.
in Islam, yeah.
So they have to kill the non-believers or convert the non-believers. And if you are an apostate, you leave the religion. You just have to be killed. Again, it is a evil religion, and it definitely, and like the reason we're talking about today is they have a pedophile problem within the religion. I mean, remember the Prophet Muhammad. Again, their prophet, their Christ figure is not in Islam is not Christ. They just think Christ was a prophet, but he also didn't die on the cross. They said God pulled a deception, and Christ didn't actually get killed on the cross. He just he deceived everyone into thinking Christ died on the cross, and Christ lived healthy for the rest of his life.
Yeah, they think that he's a prophet, that he's not the prophet.
Yeah, remember, Muhammad is the prophet. And remember, Muhammad raped, pillaged, and killed everywhere he went. Everywhere he went. Whenever he was in power, he subjugated, tortured, and killed. Whenever he wasn't, he played nice until he was able to build his army up strong enough to take over that area. I mean, again, it's a religion of deception.
Yeah.
And all he did was accumulate Christian moral ethics and then rewrite it. And again, remember, he didn't write it. He was illiterate.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems that they have in a bunch of the different sects of Islam right now, is why they all keep battling each other, is because each one has like a slightly different version of the Quran.
Yeah,
so
or
they
slightly
say that
different
the other ones
interpretation
are
of Muhammad.
blasphemers.
Yeah.
So it's very odd. It's very odd.
Yeah. So it's scary stuff. But we'll go into these child bride things. So whenever you're ready, just I sent a couple of things, and we can end on that funny Harry Potter one. But
Absolutely. So this first one I have pulled up is this Steven Crowder one. That
yeah,
you sent,
it's been a long time since I've seen it. I'm sure it's good because Crowder. I love Crowder's takes on Islam. So whenever you're ready, we'll just give it a watch.
All right, here we go.
When people say, hey, you look at these extremist Christians, well, hold on a second. If a Christian opens fire on a bunch of innocent civilians, it's pretty easy to see the daylight between that and what not only Jesus preached, but how Jesus lived.
Yeah.
For example, let me give you, and I've talked about this quite a bit. If someone commits murder, right, mass murder, and they say, I'm doing it because I'm a white Christian fundamentalist, which almost pretty much never happens. But if they do it, you go, okay, hold on a second. Did Jesus preach that? No. Okay. Did Jesus kill anybody? No. Did he mass murder anybody? No. Did he call for the death of No. All right. If you have an Islamic terrorist saying we're going to oppress women, okay, did Muhammad? Yes. If they say we're actually going to kill people who are apostates or Jews, did Muhammad do that? Yes, he did. Killing Christians and Jews, he did it. Did he call for it? Yes. You can say that maybe some interpretations are murky. You cannot argue that he didn't do those things himself.
Right.
Maybe you can say it was at a time of war. It wasn't. That's a huge difference too. Early Christianity, and think about this for a second, and you've talked about it in your apologetics. Early Christianity spread even though people were being executed, right? Martyrs.
Yeah.
Spread by word of mouth. Okay? Islam, with no real known oppressors, because it wasn't a religion that people were super concerned about at that point in time, was spread by the sword. So you were facing martyrdom, you spoke. No one really knew what you were doing. No one really knew who you were following, you killed. That's the spread of these two religions, and that's why you see two very different results. Does that make sense? When people say, hey, you look at these extremist Christians, well, hold on a second. If a Christian opens fire on a bunch of innocent civilians, it's pretty easy to see the daylight between that and what not only Jesus preached, but how Jesus lived.
Yeah.
For example, let me give you, and I've talked about this quite a bit. If someone commits murder, right, mass murder, and they say, I'm doing it because I'm a white Christian fundamentalist, which almost pretty much never happened.
Or restarted. Yeah,
They're good at that, man. I didn't even realize it had restarted. But again, Christianity, people were being executed in Christianity. I mean, they didn't want Christianity spreading because the Jews were trying to stop the spread of Christianity back in the day, or the Pharisees. I watched something not too long ago. It was like Jim Caviezel was in it, actually. It was like the last days of Paul, and he wasn't Paul, but he was somebody who was coming. He was like a doctor who was coming to see Paul. He was actually somebody from the Bible. I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me. But Paul was imprisoned in Rome under Nero, right? And you know about Nero, like he was a nut job that basically killed tons of people. So what was happening whenever Paul's last days, he was preaching to all the people who were in the prisons with him, and he was converting them. And all these people that were locked up in the prison were slaves, and they were all being executed in what they called the circus in Rome. So as they would be taken to the Colosseum, and they just had wild animals and stuff just rolling around, and they would just send these women, children, the dregs of society that they didn't want, into the pits. And all he did was he gave them comfort and preached the gospel to them and gave them some manner of peace before they were literally walked into the arena to their deaths. I mean, they weren't even given weapons, you know what I mean? Like, they were just the dregs of society being thrown into the pits. Like, it spread due to that. I mean, again, Christianity is not spread by the sword. It is spread out of love. It's like, look, no matter what happens to you in this life, you will get peace and attain peace in the afterlife because God loves you, and all you have to do is follow Jesus. Say that he is your savior, and that's what he did, So I was like, it's, again, you watch this stuff and you're like, you realize how, that's why I don't understand that's why Christian movies are so bad, because they just show it's all about the message. The message is, oh, you're saved and here's freedom. Like, read the Bible. Like, I mean, like, it is miserable, the stuff that was going on to these people. I mean, like, like I'm sitting there watching, like, this is depressing. This is straight depressing. And that's why, it's like you have to make Christian movies can't be afraid to do things like The Sound of Freedom. It's like you got to show the dark evil that takes place on earth. It's like, and that's what we're talking about. The sins of the flesh, the pleasures of the world, taking innocence from children, things like that. It's like, look, those are worldly things. It's like, look to something greater than you, look to something greater than yourself. And that's all religion is. It's like, there are people there's a deep spiritual calling within us. And that, again, we either give it to God or people turn into, or they fill it with something, it's like, oh, it's the climate, that stuff. They fill that God gap with something, it's like, but give it to Christ, follow Christ. But yeah, it's crazy. But the reason that we're talking about Islam today is because, in fact, Kellerman will kind of show it here really quick, but I'll let you go. But basically, in Iraq, a place we just got done fighting in, a place that we just abandoned, the Taliban took back over. And guess what? I mean, ISIS didn't win. ISIS lost out to the Taliban because Trump did such a good job getting rid of ISIS. Mm-hmm. But you know what ended up happening? Taliban took back over Iraq, and guess what? They have legalized marriage to 9-year-olds because you know what? That was the age of Muhammad's youngest wife. Now, she got married at 6, but they consummated their marriage at 9. So basically, Islam has legalized pedophilia. There you go. So,
well, it's also, I was reading up on things. Iran apparently has the same problem. That's where I was getting some of the images from today. Is like I said, child bride marriages have increased in Iran and all these other Middle Eastern countries. So the stuff is happening, and we just ignore it and we go, all cultures are equal.
All cultures are equal, everybody. All religious practices are equal. I mean, once you have an established religion that's been around for a long time and you're allowed to marry children, I mean, that's bad. I mean, Christians, shame on them for going out and preaching the gospel at nightclubs. But this right here, this child marriage stuff, that's just beautiful and culturally enriching. Wake up, folks. Wake up.
But I'll go ahead and play this then from, what's this guy's name again?
That's
the effing
Kellerman.
news?
Yeah, the effing news.
Okay.
I like him. He presents it in a very fun way.
Okay, I'll start this then. Here we go.
Language advisory.
Welcome to the fucking news. I'm your host, Kellerman, and here's some of the shit that's been going on in the world around you. In the United States, the FBI are investigating a series of racist text messages that have been sent out across the country since the election, telling black people that they're going to be taken to a plantation to pick cotton. In North Carolina, an NC State
like
student
Democrats
has
are
been
back in swing.
arrested for shooting at cars on Interstate 40 throughout last week. He's been charged with 11 counts of discharging a firearm into an occupied vehicle or home, as well as assault with a dangerous weapon and intent to kill. In Pakistan, a bomb detonated at a train station, killing at least 25 people and injuring dozens more. The Baluchistan Liberation Army took responsibility for the attack. And Iraq's parliament proposed a new amendment to the country's personal status law that would allow men to marry young girls by lowering the legal age of consent from 18 to 9. Follow me.
All right,
if you give a
there you go,
shit.
folks. That's the truth right there. And again, it's sad. We were just there. You know why the reason that it was 18? It's because American influence was there. Now, I'm not saying, like, look, I'm glad we're out of there. I'm glad, again, I had friends who went and fought in Iraq,
and
Afghanistan. And they went there like, oh, we're going to do so much good here, and we're going to save these people and do so much good. And by the time they got done with their deployments, they came back and they said, we should thermonuke every inch of that country. It's beyond salvation. It's beyond help. Now, thank gosh their hands aren't on the nuclear button, but they were there. They saw it on the ground. They know what it's like. It's like they were, one of my friends was showing, he sent me a video of an aid truck going into Palestine to deliver food.
From Egypt.
And there were kids throwing rocks at it. He goes, yep, that's exactly what it was like. He's like, that's exactly what it was like going over there. Just kids be throwing rocks at you. And he goes,
these kids would literally 1 second be asking you for candy, and the moment you turn your back, they're throwing
rocks
rocks
at you.
at you.
Yeah. It is not what you think, folks. I mean, again, all cultures are equal. They're not. But again, it's like that's why we got to go. Christians got to go to these places. But again, Christians can't go to Iraq. They can't go to Afghanistan because if they start preaching the gospel, they will be killed.
There were they were talking about, Douglas Murray was talking about this, how there were literally Christian towns, like just Christian towns that would go off and all on their own and in the middle of the desert and trying to make a living for themselves.
And they would do decent, and the town would flourish and prosper because Christian ethics came in and were doing very good.
Exactly. And then then we would pull out, and then the Muslims would find out about it, and then they would go put an end to it. And we're talking there's no survivors. Like I said, all of a sudden there's a village that's empty and completely gone.
Yeah. Remember, it's convert or die. That is what Islam is. I mean, there's genocides of Christians all over the Middle East, and we never hear about it. We only hear about, big bad America coming in and bombing the Muslims because they're brown. It's like, what about the brown people that were Christians that were executed by the Muslims because they were practicing a different religious practice? Again, it is not a tolerant religion. It is not the religion of peace. It's only going to be a peace. And even once it's achieved converting every person in the world, it's still not going to be a religion of peace because no peace will be achieved here on earth. Yeah. As a Christians, we all know this.
And here's the other thing too, is we always talk about the Holocaust from World War II. Like I said, everybody forgets about the Armenian genocide.
It was the original Holocaust. It was the OG Holocaust. I mean, the Young Turks, the Muslims came in and just started decimating Christian populations. They were like, look, people who can't defend themselves. Let's just get in here and start executing them. Mass graves, all that. Again, but Christ said it. It's like, look, if you follow me, the world will hate you because they hated me first. That's just the way it is. Again, this world is not our home. This is just our proving grounds. And again, the scary thing is, though, it's the proving ground for Muslims, too. So it's scary stuff. But I mean, I sent a couple of YouTube videos and things like that if you want to pull those up.
If I can find them.
They're just in the chat. It's like Sam Schumann's one of them, and then it's just a couple of Islamic scholars here in the West talking about the validity of child marriage. And these are people here in the West.
Are these new?
They're not new. I just sent them to you today.
Okay. Oh, So you just literally just
Yeah,
sent it
yeah.
to
I
me.
sent them
Okay.
to you before the show started. They're the last things that should be in the
All right.
the queue.
I'm pulling them up right now.
Yeah,
I was not
they're
aware
both like
of
6 or
these.
7 minutes long, but we can probably just watch the Sam Schuman one because I love Sam Schuman. He's so he is a he must be an Islamic scholar. Like God must have like spoke to him one night and said, "Hey, your job is to convert Muslims," because that's what he does. And he is not nice to them. He is not nice to them at all. Like I mean, he calls them out. He knows the hadith. He knows the surah. He knows all the stuff. Yeah, we can watch these little shorts too. So we'll watch the shorts, and we can watch some.
What do you want me to start with?
Start with the short, just because you can see like this is scary. I mean, these are white dudes that converted to Islam, so you're just like, so white pedophiles that wanted to get with younger girls, like really younger girls.
All right, well, I'll start with this one then. Here we go.
Signs of physical maturity, it becomes permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Do you know what precocious puberty is?
Starting puberty unusually early. Like,
is there anything in Islam that prevents you from, a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
you can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
Could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old, consummate it if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible, as I
What
said.
about age 4?
This fat white
If there
guy
are signs
3.
of
justifying
so
pedophilia.
this is something that becomes biologically impossible because
I have a
proclivity,
study
there are
that shows
no.
it goes as early as 11 months.
Well, that's something that the parents would not. See, the thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages, and when you look at the marriage of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when there are.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is becoming more common practice, and it's going to become more common practice. You're going to see this more and more. I mean, I remember whenever the Mormons, I remember they did that full documentary expose back when I was like in the early 2000s when I was a kid, and they exposed how the Mormons were marrying off really, really young girls, and that was like a huge thing. But it's like, this is happening now, and it's like, well, I mean, it's not the Muslims' fault. It's just part of their culture. It's like, what the hell are we talking about here?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't have to watch the other ones. We can just pull up the Sam Schuman one. Like, this is just a bunch of different dudes talking about, it's like, again, if you want to watch these videos that Chad says pulls up, you can do the research yourself. Like, I mean, hopefully you'll find other Islamic scholars who are like, but it's allowed, but we don't approve. Good. But here's what you need to do is convert to Christianity and stop following this false prophet that they have out there. But
So you want me to play this one?
yeah,
right here?
this is this guy is super important. Like, he is doing the Lord's work, like converting Muslims, and if you can't convert them, man, he insults them, spits on them, and he's like, not physically, but I mean, he debates them and calls them out because he knows the Quran and the Hadith like the back of his hand, almost as well as he knows the Bible. So he's a great advocate and spokesperson for Christianity and debating Muslims apologist.
All right, well, then let's check this out.
Yeah.
Okay, in chapter 65, verse 4 of the Quran, you want me to read it for you? Want me to open up for you? Let me get it for you. Chapter 65, verse 4. I'll read it, but you open it, okay? And I'm going to give you a link where we quote all your hadith, Bukhari, Muslim, and Ibn Kathir, and Al-Qurtubi, and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, all of them, Tabari, all of them agree on the meaning of this ayah. But let me get it for you. I'm going to read. Are you ready? Okay. And those of your women as have passed the age of monthly courses, meaning they don't have menses, for them the idda, the waiting period. So let me explain to the people what the idda is. For those of you who don't know Islam too much, the idda is the waiting period for a divorced woman who's married and had sex. How long must she wait before she can remarry? So for those of you who don't know Islam, in chapter 33, verse 49 of the Quran, we're told that a woman who hasn't had sex with her husband, but it's only engagement, and the man divorces her, there is no waiting period. That's 33:49. There is no idda for the woman engaged, but hasn't had sex with the husband. The waiting period, the idda is only for a woman who was engaged and they came together, got married, and had sex. So now that woman had sex with her husband, she's divorced. How long must she wait before she can remarry? That's called the idda, the waiting period. So for them, the idda, if you have doubts about their periods, is 3 months. But hold on, they asked Muhammad a question. Okay, some of our women don't have periods. And some of the women we marry, they are young, minors, they haven't had their periods yet. And for those who have no courses, who have no periods, i.e., they are still immature, premature. That's what Hilali Khan puts in parentheses. Their idda, prescribed period, is 3 months likewise. Now, I can give you other translations, and I can read Qurtubi, Ibn Kathir, Bukhari, but I hope you admit, and don't make me read it. Here it says...
I do not know all the scholars.
Okay, well, I can read it for you, but if you read it, just read it. Read it. Here it talks about young girls, minors who haven't had their periods, that Muslims are marrying and having sex with. This is what we call a prepubescent, premature minors, meaning young girls who haven't matured to have their periods. They are so young that the Muslim men are marrying them, having sex with them. Today we call it pedophilia. Are you okay with your Quran allowing Muslim men, I'm not saying forcing them, they don't have to, but they can, marrying young girls who are so young and premature, they haven't even matured and had periods, that men can marry them, have sex with them, divorce them, so other people marry them. Are you okay with that?
Even if I do not understand or I cannot make a decision, still has to believe and I am okay with whatever
So
Allah has said.
let me repeat what you just said. Even if you don't understand and can't explain it, you are still okay with it. Why?
Because my Allah has commanded.
Because Allah told you it's okay for you to take a young girl, a minor, have sex with her, and then divorce her so another grown man can have sex with her, destroying this young girl psychologically, physically, emotionally. That's okay because your Allah said it.
But this is not compulsion on everyone, that everyone has
See,
to do this kind
you
of
changed the
thing.
subject. I didn't tell you you have to, but
Okay,
you
we can pause
can,
it right
and
here.
many Muslims are doing.
But yes, there you go, folks. I mean, that's Islam for you. I mean, could you imagine being able to marry a prepubescent minor, have consummate relationships with her, and be like, she's not my cup of tea anymore. Divorce her, give her to another man. That's allowed. Again, it's like it's the opposite of what Christian marriage is. Two bodies, one flesh. You don't get to share it with anybody else. It's just you and your wife. It's you and your spouse. That's it. It's you forever. That's what it was supposed to be. That's what it was always meant to be. But this, it's like, no, you can just trade up. Trade a model of a car. Get a younger one. One that's not psychologically scarred and damaged that you did. I mean, we all know adults that are psychologically scarred from their previous relationships that they have. Imagine it, except it's a child. 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. Again, this is a evil religion. It's an evil practice. They have got to come to terms with this stuff. And again, the lady that he was debating right there going, well, Allah said it was cool, so I mean, it's fine. It's like, again, Christ came here and lived a perfect life. Like, we can evaluate Jesus' life and say, yeah, no, the dude was perfect. Did nothing wrong. He was the pure, clean, white sheep that was sacrificed on all of our behalf. I mean, our God came down, lived a perfect life, and died for all of our sins. Their prophet raped, murdered, pillaged, and killed, and had relations with minors his entire life. And the way he died, it wasn't peaceful. He was poisoned by a young Jewish girl whose family he had just recently slaughtered. So, I mean, again, it's wrong. And, I'd say Islam has some things they need to hash out. But again, these problems are being hashed out with their religious scholars. They just don't care. They're like, no, it's all good. Our religion says it's cool. And we're just going to spread out, and it's going to go all over the world. And we're going to outbreed everybody. Now, thank goodness they are outbreeding us, the Muslims, but there are a lot of people that are turning away from the land. There are a lot of Muslims being converted to Christianity or walking away from the religion in general, which is good. We don't hear about that as often, but that's because we don't hear about stuff about Christianity in the mainstream media because we're no longer a Christian nation, or at least we're not a Christian nation that talks about it. It's like that football player that was
Tebow?
No. I mean, Tebow was one that was wrongfully persecuted because he loved Jesus a lot, But there was a guy that it was like a post-game interview with, I can't remember the NFL player's name, but he said, I wanted to thank God and Jesus, because through them all things are possible. It was a live game, but they dead cut that out. They said, no talks of Jesus. Like, that's the NFL. That's like, people used to thank God. I mean, guys go out and pray and would thank God for being able to score a touchdown, win a fight. Like, that was awesome. Like, Johnny Bones Jones did that. It's like, I want to thank God for being able to do it. But the NFL, they're so... and it probably wasn't just the NFL. I mean, I'm not going to just say it was the NFL, but I mean, whatever network was airing that was like, no, we don't want that. None of this thanking Jesus crap anymore. We're done with that nonsense. Again, we are not a Christian nation anymore. We need to get back to a Christian nation. We need to get back to those roots. Because that culture, like, I mean, one of the foundational building blocks of this country is Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
All of our laws, our moral frameworks are built on it.
Yeah, a moral and righteous people.
Yes, this nation will only work if we have a moral and righteous people. And that's why America's been so successful, because we've had a moral and righteous people.
Yep.
Are we all perfect? Of course not. America's never going to be perfect. The only thing that's perfect is something that we will never attain in this life, which is why communism is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Communism will never win because perfection cannot be attained in this life. There are going to be people here eating shit sandwiches for the rest of their life until their life's over. That's just the way it is. But, you know, that's about all I've got for you today. We just wanted to expose the evils of Islam, and hopefully that the things we've showed you and our opinions on it will sway some people into coming to the light, coming over to Christ, you know. So that's what we want to do here. Want to shift the culture, want to move the culture, and we want to convert and save our Muslim friends. You know, it's like, hey, come to Christ, man. Be a brother in Christ with us. That's the most important thing we can do here in this world. So with that being said, this is the Twins with the Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. Help us save some souls while we're at it too. So with that being said, God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
I have to speak very, very clearly.
Allahu Akbar.
Don't forget.